Hello everyone, and today we're here with Simulator Haven of SOS. What inspired you to create SOS? Both the name and the concept as well.
So it was back a long time ago in the main Starbase Discord, and I was talking, and we were like, "Hey, maybe there should be a service that like rescues people in Starbase because we're going to be flying all over the place, and it's going to be really rough if you lose a ship." And so, kind of off of that, so one of my moderators is Salty. His name changes from time to time, but I just call him Salty. And at the time, I was like, hey, this is a really good idea. Would you want to help me with this? And so we got together, we made the server, and we kind of just ran names by each other. And Save Our Ships worked because it was just, SOS. And very noticeable.
Alright, cool. Actually, it kind of reminds me of the, trying to remember their name. I think it's an
Fuel
Elite
Rats?
Yeah, I think it reminds me of Fuel Rats, honestly.
Yeah. So when we were made, I wasn't actually thinking of the fuel rats. I was just kind of thinking on my own. But as time went on, people were like, "Oh, were you inspired by the fuel rats?" And they didn't really come into play until later on when I realized like a number of people who had been fuel rats were in SOS and were like, "Hey, you can do it this way, that way," stuff like that.
Definitely when you start getting, kind of similar groups to something that was that big and that prominent, you're definitely going to re-gravitate the same members back towards you.
Yeah.
How soon would you say into the game's development do you think that you'll be able to begin operation?
Well, okay, so I take this topic twofold. So the first fold, technically right now I am doing rescue operations. Like I have two, three of them recorded, um, and they're on my YouTube, but we have rescued two people like successfully already. And so in that sense, rescue operations have already commenced. But on the other hand, we currently only have three members, including myself, in the closed alpha. So we really need more of our members to get in before we can start doing large scale operations and having our emergency rescue system running 24/7 and uh, stuff like that. It, it's really reliant. Once we get members, then we'll be able to start rescuing as many people as possible.
How exactly does that work? You said you've already rescued a few people in closed alpha, and from my experience, it's there's not really any GPS coordinates. Is it just kind of they have to describe which star or moon they went out, and then you just gotta fumble around until you find them? How's that even work?
Yeah, so it's a really guess and check method, but we operate usually based off of a single screenshot, and that is a screenshot of the starter stations. And then based solely off that, well, and like how far out are you in terms of minutes? Like somebody may be like only 10 minutes out, right outside the safe zone, something like that. And that's how we find them. So Starbase has this neat little feature. So you can open up your social tab and it will tell you who's in a 5 kilometer radius, the zone. So we use that screenshot and we fly out to wherever they are and we get within about that 5 kilometer radius. And that's always a great moment to see that you've actually kind of found them, but you haven't yet. So you know you're within 5 kilometers. So then how do you find the person from there? Well, one of my tactics is I will just find like a path through what I think is the sphere of the 5 kilometers where the person is, and I will just find a clear path and put my engines on full because engines leave a big trail behind them. And then if the person sees the trails, then I know I'm close. And usually we're in a voice chat, and then I can navigate based off that and get closer and closer to them and find them.
It's actually really cool. I like the idea of the being able to triangulate people off of the stations and probably later on celestial bodies if
Hmm.
no one is able to. I feel like somebody is gonna have to code up some YOLO GPS or like waypoint
Uh-huh.
system, but hopefully it's someone whoever codes it up isn't going to keep it proprietary because that would I think
Yeah,
the whole community would love that if it
I agree.
I mean, I think they would just love it being in the game default, but a YOLO code doing it would be just as good.
Yeah, a rescue system, like a coordinate system for rescue would be really, really handy. On one of my next rescue ship iterations, I'm going to be putting basically a GPS system on there so we can calculate distances and such.
Awesome. So, can you actually explain how your system works exactly? Like, how's it funded? Is it like, uh, no, is it just like a free
Hmm.
service? And like, how do these jobs get handled? Like, how many, I guess you already said like three or so people are in closed alpha. I guess also I would
Hmm.
want to ask is how many people are in SOS in general, even
All
outside
right.
of closed alpha?
So we'll start with like how money works. So right now, our money comes from mining. So we will still go out mining and doing all of that, and then sometimes, so when we're successful, usually people will pay us pretty reasonably for what we've done, and so that's really what's been paying our members. So that is what's working for now. But right now, since we don't have money transfer and all of that, it's super crazy. But so how ideally the payment is going to work is we have two phases. The first phase is when we are not funded by donations and sponsors and such, and the second is when we are running off of those donations. So the first is what we're going to be in for a while, and that is when we'll be charging fees. So, like right now, propellant is expensive, and time is really expensive as well. So we charge a fee for our resources because when we're out rescuing somebody, it takes the time to get there, whereas we could be like going on a mining mission during that amount of time. And so we ask for that payment right now so that we can actually make our money. But then in our second phase, when we are funded by other factions, so numerous factions have said they can provide us with different kinds of resources, monetary, fuel, etc. Once we're able to run mostly or completely off of those, then our services will be free to everybody.
All right, awesome.
Yeah.
Um, do y'all have a plan to defend yourselves while working, say from fake signals that are actually pirates or opposing forces that, possibly the opposing side that just destroyed your client who called you in and are still
Mhm.
lurking in the area and they don't really appreciate you picking off their bones or by pulling them out of there? Um, or as a
Yeah.
caveat to the last one, would you only agree to help the defeated side as long as you get permission from the other side to not that they won't shoot you? Like how exactly all would all that work?
Yeah. So we right now, my rescue ship is not armed, but that's because nobody has really wanted to pirate me yet. So, but in the future, so I've been designing ships that have plenty of weapons on them and will be able to defend themselves. It's really going to shake out to be how our service members operate. So, we may operate like say a larger rescue ship and have mounted weapons on that, or maybe a unarmed rescue ship with a fighter complement following it. So it's really gonna just rely on the meta, but we will be armed, and if people shoot at us, we will shoot back. Um, we know that there are going to be pirates who are going to want to attack us. There was somebody talking about that yesterday too, and there's no way we're going to be able to prevent it. But the thing that we have is the power to say this person violated our rules, and they will no longer ever be served by Save Our Ships. and we have a number of factions who are willing to support us with anti-piracy ships, people, etc., and they will be at our disposal for cases like that.
All right. Another question I just thought of was how, like, is once we get further into the release cycle, does SOS plan on having like a main company hub, like a company building somewhere in the galaxy, like, and would it be like on a planet? Would it be a station in space?
Yeah.
Like, what are y'all planning right now? Like, what are y'all trying to do for like home base, like down the
So,
line?
yeah, that's a good question. So, right now, it's looking like we'll have a main station. So, like the Save Our Ships, just central hub station, and we're gonna have like our HQ located there. And we may have a mothership, but that would only be used for, say, an expedition out to deep space. So the developers have spoken of like player communities going out into deep space and finding new things, and like putting down warp gates and such. So that is when we'd use a mothership, but our primary place will be a station in the future.
Actually, now I think of it, it could be like, let's say a player had a long haul colony ship that's just meant to go in a straight line for a very long time, and near the end of
Mhm.
their journey, as they're coming up on the planet, before they can put their warp gate down, they hit, something happens, sabotage, hit an asteroid, and all their critical systems are damaged, and they're just left floating
Mhm.
in orbit above this planet. Would that be like one of the situations where y'all would have to pull out a mothership to go save like this community that's just marooned in orbit somewhere?
Yeah. So in that case, there would be kind of two ways we could go about it. We could send that mothership out there, and just station it with those people, and that would be really cool, and I would love to see that. But another way we could do this, if we don't have the resources or can't devote the resources, we could just send. I've been working on like a long range rescue ship that you can bolt all of the necessary tools on, and it'll have storage crates. So they're not implemented yet, but like equipment storage crates and building material storage crates, and it'll be able to store all those and take those to wherever it's needed.
Could always have it the current style where people are just bolting their tools to the wall, you know?
Uh-huh. Yeah, that I kind of go off that principle right now. In all of my ships, I have what I call the emergency backpack, and it has, a cable tool, pipe tool, bolt tool, and extra ammo and all that good stuff.
Yeah, it's a pretty smart idea.
Yeah,
Um,
it helps a lot.
I bet. Do the leaders of SOS take part in any other clans and their activities, or for the people at the top, is SOS a full-time job slash experience?
Mhm.
And a follow-up question after that is like, do you plan on overseeing it forever, or do you expect like a year or two down the line someone else will have inherited the mantle?
All right, yeah. So for our leaders, there's no like formal requirement to stay with like completely dedicated to SOS, and the same with our members. But I am always dedicated to SOS, though our high leadership, uh, there's the need, like, you don't always want to be rescuing people. And I've recognized that time and time again. So we have to have that flexibility to allow people to experience Starbase in their own way. So um, we do allow that, but it's on a case by case basis. And then as for your other question, so will I be with SOS forever? In the foreseeable future, yes. But again, life is always changing, so we'll have to see how it shakes out in the future.
All right. I think that's all the questions I have. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me.
All right, and be sure to check Simulator Haven's Discord SOS down in the description below. And that's all for this one. See ya.